Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe OVIES, Eford Studios, downtown Raleigh, Empire Properties. And we're brought to you by Copiers Plus. Check out Copiers Plus online at copiers-plus.com. I joked about this last week, and I had one of the Kyocera units. It's for a small office. We put it in the home office where Kelly's based out of as she works from home. And I used to joke, I'm like, yeah, I'm scanning things all the time. Print some stuff out here and there. But I wasn't like fully engaged with it. But now that we're in LLC mode, Joe, you're emailing me documents to print out, sign, send it back to you. That's a low cost thing. You might be running a bigger business, a bigger, smaller business, if you will. And you might be losing a lot of money on print costs without even realizing it. So get an assessment today. Check out copiers-plus.com.
Things I'm into now that we have our own business, saving money, spending our money wisely.
That's why you should drive the speed limit, Joe.
And Copiers Plus can definitely help you with that.
All right. So a couple things. I feel like this is pre-housekeeping, a little housekeeping before the housekeeping, if you will. So maybe I should just go ahead and housekeeping jingle here. So our friends Anita and Jason, I've known Anita since I was this was preschool level. So she's practically family. Okay. She's like a cousin. And they invited us out to Lake Jordan yesterday to get on their boat. And I'm not one to wakeboard. I'm not one to kneeboard. But if you put me on an inner tube and drag me around, I'm down with that. That's more my speed. So I don't know, thinking, why not? I forgot, years ago when I was younger, Jason would do, it's you want to go on the inner tube chariot style. So it's one of those high back, it's called Big Mabel. It's like a 2-person inner tube seat. But if you flip it around, you can go chariot style, essentially. Look out there looking like Ben-Hur. So I thought, I'll do that and see how long I can. I've done it before. See how long I can last. Well, the kids got involved. So Caleb and Jacob were like, can we go? And we're like, yeah, I don't see why not. What's the weight limit? Oh, okay, cool. This matches the weight limit. No big deal. But you know Jacob. Jacob's 12. He's a little smaller. He's kind of like a Martin St. Louis on the ice. Little guy going fast, right? The way we were positioned on the chariot style Big Mabel, he was to my right. We hit a wake, and because he's smaller, basically his skull hit my cheekbone, knocked me out a little bit. I'm fine. I'm fine. But this morning I woke up a little groggy. And I don't know if I'm not trying to make light of this. I'm just telling Joe straight up, if I'm a little loopy today, I don't know. Maybe I experienced a concussion. I didn't even know it. So we have a lot of lights here. I don't have a headache, so I'm good.
That's good.
But
that's a good start.
Just giving you a heads up as to what happened.
Metallic taste in your mouth?
No, there's not.
Also a good start. I'll be thrown up.
I have not thrown up.
All right. Also good signs so far.
Actually, you know what? Actually would get me to throw up? Reading all these alignment takes. That would get me to throw up. All the people.
Too spicy?
No, it's not.
Or is it too think of the children?
It's a lot of things. That's the saccharine sweet that would get me to throw up. Think of the children. It's lost its soul, Joe. College athletics lost its soul decades ago. What are we talking about?
Long time ago.
Long time ago. It sold its soul a long time ago. No, the things that get me to throw up are just the uninformed levels of talking about it. And you, me, Aaron Beard, others connected to the ACC, screaming into the void about, well, actually, guys, I guess we're the nerds at the party. You ever seen that meme where there's a guy in the corner with a party hat and they're like, they just don't know about the grant of rights. And everybody else is in the corner having a good time coming up with big game boomer. This is what realignment should look like. Or imagine my super league. And that's getting all the engagement. We're just here in the corner going, yeah, but guys, think of the grant of rights. Would you like to talk to me about the grant of rights? But nobody wants to talk about a grant of rights show because that's not sexy. That doesn't get the engagement.
Also, Florida State's not worried about it. So,
all right. So
they've got private equity. They're on their way.
Let's start from the beginning, shall we? So when we last left you,
I have a chart here because after the weekend, I'm sitting here going, all right.
Can you even keep track?
Who's where?
Can you even keep track?
What's going on?
So, all right. So if you would like a too long didn't read version of what happened, the Pac-12 missed on their television deal again. This is now twice in their last rounds where they've missed they're essentially on the wrong end of where TV and streaming has been going. So that caused Colorado to better their situation and go to the Big 12. That set off a domino effect of, well, is the Big 12 done? Well, if Colorado's leaving, well, what's our TV deal? When they swung and missed on the TV deal, that then got this thing, uncorked it essentially. And you've got, honestly, do you have that? Because I don't know who's where now. I know
It's
like
right here.
Oregon and Washington are now in the Big 10. So in the Big 12, we now have.
It's better than mine, right? Or you want me to?
Here, hold on a second. I can fix that. There you go. Hold there we go. Perfect. Hold it right there. Perfect. So, okay. So the Big 12 now has Baylor, Ohio State, Kansas State, Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, BYU, Central Florida, Cincinnati, Houston, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. And I like how you color-coded those because you see where BYU, USC, UCF, Cincy, and Houston kind of joined from, where were they before?
Different places.
So and then the red are all
now.
the Pac-12.
And the red's coming in.
Yeah.
And then Texas and Oklahoma are obviously there this year, but will be in the SEC next year.
Yeah.
Listen, I it's rare that I find myself thinking, you know who we really need to listen to? Rick Pitino.
Oh, geez.
And sometimes we get messages and we don't like the messenger, right?
Don't.
Like I find this with Carolina fans. They don't like it when I sometimes give them a message. It's not the message, it's the messenger. But to me, Rick Pitino, and this is something that you and I have often talked about, this is also something that confuses me. Because during the pandemic, I feel like there was an enlightenment in college sports. Not in the traditional sense of enlightening, like, man, we are really abusing these athletes. Man, we should really be compensating these employees of ours. Not that.
No, absolutely not. Because money.
But the other enlightenment, which was, hey, you know what was really cool? This schedule of only playing real teams. There's no Murray States in here. There's no Sewanee States in here. These are all conference games. So magically, what have we now seen as a trend? Oh, we're going to play more conference games. There was 9 conference games in the Big 10 and the Pac-12. Hey, we're going to play more conference. Hey, that's an interesting idea. That's what you got from the pandemic. The other thing that happened during the pandemic was a little bit less publicized and it was a little bit less under the radar, but it was equally important in my opinion. And it's time to, and this is where Rick Pitino comes in, and it's time to have that conversation again. And I could speak specifically for NC State because I remember for their, if you would like to be politically correct and call them Olympic sports, we can.
Sure.
But for their non-revenue sports, basically for their sports that were not football, men's basketball, women's basketball, they told those teams, you're taking a bus. So you might want to create a regional schedule that's going to be economically efficient for you. And also, quite frankly, get you back here to campus and keeps you on somewhat of a normal schedule.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the world continued to spin on its axis. The men's soccer team, the women's soccer team, all the teams that participated played a regional schedule. And no one was worse for the wear. So what I'm getting at here is if football wants to do whatever football wants to do, and football is going to do whatever football wants to do. That's what they're doing
right now.
For financial reasons and only financial reasons. Then break football off. And the NCAA doesn't even govern football at the highest level. So what are we even doing here?
Rick Pitino,
they need to create their own ecosystem. They need to create their own minor league and just go and do it, because all of those other sports do not need to play a national schedule. None of them do, actually. Do you know why? Because seriously, do you know the one thing the NCAA is actually really, really effing good at?
Putting on tournaments.
Putting on a national tournament. So nothing will suffer in these other sports. Not one single thing.
You could actually improve them with regional rivalries again.
Correct.
That's the thing.
And less travel. And so it kind of gets us into Stanford and who would you rather be? We've talked before about who would you rather be a fan of? I'd rather be Stanford. I'd rather be a Stanford swimmer. I'd rather be a Stanford volleyball player. I'd rather be Stanford for all of those other things.
But nobody thinks about those things. And to Rick Pitino's point, the tweet reads, doesn't it make more sense for football to break away, to separate leagues and allow the rest of the sports to compete regionally? Rivalries remain in minor sports. Don't spend half their day looking for bad food at airport restaurants. Shout out to Luke DeCock at the News and Observer, who took a screen grab of the ACC American Cafe at RDU. Who knows? Maybe Rick Pitino was taking a shot at that. And look, this is something that you and I have been talking about for the last couple of years as everybody's trying to get a general sense of the landscape. And to double down on that point, everything is driven by football. So if you think that if the conferences are set now, essentially, as there's more consolidation, all these teams in the Big Ten, all these teams in the Big 12, you have the ACC that's just kind of patiently waiting for Notre Dame to kind of like go, hey, well, you know what? Maybe we do need to join a conference, but not for the reasons you think. And we'll get to that a little bit later on when we talk about TV being the culprit for all this stuff and how it's going to affect realignment potentially going further, including the ACC. There's going to come a point where if the conferences are looked at in the way that they don't bring value, okay, and that you, the Big Ten, can bring on Washington and Oregon at a cut rate deal. I think the best meme that I saw related to, well, why would the Big Ten want Washington and Oregon after they already added UCLA and Southern Cal? And it was the equivalent of, well, how many hoodies do you need? And you just saw your favorite kind of hoodie on sale for 30% off. So you just buy more because you like that hoodie. Well, Washington and Oregon are in the same boat. Oh, I can get you guys for 35% off. Cool. Come on board. Because again, they're not getting a full share for several years.
It's also a sad attempt to appease some of those players. And it's not just Rick Pitino complaining. Like there have, and I applaud the athletes from the Pac, whatever number they are.
Very outwardly
from those non-revenue sports, basically saying, why are you doing this to me? This is not why I'm here.
Yeah.
And I applaud them for making their voice heard. I don't think it will be acknowledged by anyone at any of those schools. But this was a sad attempt by the Big Ten to say, oh, no. USC and UCLA, we're not just going to isolate you. We're going to annex Oregon and Washington too.
Everything old is new again, because you know what the Big Ten's probably going to go for when they expand again? Pods. Remember when pods were the hotness 20 years ago when there was rumors about Texas and Oklahoma joining the ACC? Well, how would it work? Well, Coach K had an idea. You think you get upset when the ACC takes ideas from you like that 3-3-5 scheduling, right? Or the 3-5-5 scheduling. Coach K's probably sitting going, who was talking about pods like 25 years ago? For scheduling purposes and everything else. So if I'm Coach K, I'm probably pissed too. The inevitability of the Super League means that if you're the Big Ten and you're trying to put yourself in the best position, why do you have Indiana? Why do you have Illinois? Hell, why do you still have Rutgers if we understand that cable homes don't necessarily mean the biggest thing anymore and brands matter? Maryland, I'm looking at you. Hey, thanks for helping us expand our cable subscriptions, but the world has changed now, and we might need to go in a different direction. Same with the SEC. The SEC is all about making money to the point where they're using the 9th conference game in football as a leverage chip against ESPN for future negotiations. They're probably then wondering, well, wait a minute. If 9 conference games makes our league better, well, wouldn't those conference games be even better if we could get rid of Vanderbilt? And we're going to get to a point in college football before we get to the Super League in the next 10 years, I guess. You have to then start calculating, is it worth it to pay Vanderbilt or Illinois football $40-50 million a year to take L's, right? Is it worth it to you as a league to still have teams that are having the golden handcuffs, so to speak? And it's something that in the ACC, people have been talking about all the time. Well, if the ACC were to get it right, well, they should boot Boston College. Let's get rid of this team and go out and get somebody else. But as we know, when it comes to the ACC, the only value that you can gain is not by adding UConn now. It's not by adding West Virginia. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about getting Notre Dame to join the league. But that seems to be a bridge too far because we don't know what the college football playoff is going to look like. Because remember, they had like a framework agreement as to what the college football playoff was going to look like. And it included the Power 5. Well, what happens when you don't have a Power 5 anymore?
Well, it included the top 6 rated conference champions.
Yes.
You could still do it that way.
Can you still do it that
5
way?
And 7 is fine as well, too.
All right. You said 5, though. That's the thing. Are there 5? Who's the 5th?
Oh, no. The American Athletic and the Mountain West are both legitimate conferences.
Okay. All right. Well, the Mountain West and the Pac-12 might end up becoming one group anyway.
Yeah. I mean,
which makes the most amount of sense. So,
well, Can we get back to the Big Ten brands?
Oh, yeah.
Because that was the other thing that had kind of sort of triggered me this weekend.
Well, hold on a second. Let's go ahead and I'll share the Colin Cowherd. I guess this was from Friday when all this news was breaking. And here is, hold on a second. I have to bring up the right one. If, hey, Joe, is this your first time with StreamYard? It might be, actually. So here is Colin Cowherd on his show on Friday, I believe, talking about the Big Ten brands.
They're going to be members of the Big Ten. And just think of this top 8. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, USC, Washington, Wisconsin, UCLA, and Oregon. That's a really good top 8. That's big brands, some big cities, big stadiums, big money, big fan bases. And the key is 3 time zones. Start at noon on Fox, end at 1 a.m. on the East Coast. 3 time zones represented. As great as the SEC is, it'll cannibalize itself a lot of times with all these great games in 2 windows. You can have 4 or 5 different games, big brands, every window, the Big Ten. Washington, Oregon can play some night games. So can UCLA. You put USC up there against the Buckeyes, Badgers, Nittany Lions, Wolverines in the day and get a number. The SEC is just a great regional conference. The Big 12 and the ACC are tiny, irrelevant markets. And at this point, who knows what the Pac-12 is? I grew up with it. I love it. I'm over it. The world changes.
So there's Colin Cowherd. To borrow a bit from Colin Cowherd, we can do where Colin was right and where Colin was wrong. Colin is ultimately right in the sentiment from college football fans who will get over it. Okay, you mourn the loss of the Pac-12 and what it was, but you also recognize what college football is now and where things are going. So we'll all be mad, but then Colin is right in that we'll see some of these Big Ten matchups and go, damn, those are pretty. Again, for market sizes, intrigue, all that stuff, you're going to see some of these like, oh, cool, these are some big matchups. That's where Colin was right. But you know where Colin was wrong? We've already seen this play out in other conferences where they sell you on these big ideas of big conference games. And ultimately, it's kind of soulless. The regional aspect goes away. And also, how do you schedule them all the time? Where the games you actually want happen. It's something that the ACC finally figured out with their scheduling model to better their television situation. How do you do that when you're nearly at 20 teams in the Big Ten? It's a tough thing to do.
I'm not buying the Big Ten's brands in football.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Ohio State is really good. Michigan is having a moment right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long that moment will last, to be perfectly honest with you. Penn State cannot get out of its own way, despite having every resource in the history of the game. So what are we talking about here? Now, USC, I fully expect to be there, only because of they have the right coach. How long is Lincoln Riley going to be there for?
Yeah,
I don't know. You're telling me in 10 years, Lincoln Riley's still going to be the head coach at USC?
Doubt it.
You're drunk.
Doubt it.
And you have a concussion. That ain't happening. So you grew up watching the Pac-8. Congratulations. Did you notice the Rose Bowl when UCLA was playing in the last 5 years when nobody was at the games?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't? Like, who would you rather be at this point? Would you rather be Washington or Stanford? And everyone's going to say Washington. Well, now they're included in this new Big Ten. They're never going to win the Big Ten title in football. They are never going to win the Big Ten title in men's basketball.
No, they're not.
Ever.
Yeah. Who would you rather be? You would rather be Stanford.
Meanwhile, is still Stanford. All of those advantages that we had talked about previously, about being the Ivy League on the West Coast and attracting all of those athletes who, by the way, like 90% of them are excellent students and want to go somewhere that has an excellent school. And now Stanford doesn't have to go to Rutgers to play volleyball on a Tuesday. So guess what? I'd rather be Stanford. But the money, I can already hear the Florida State fans. The money, you got to have money. There's only one way to win. We just staged a tournament in men's basketball where the Final Four was Florida Atlantic and San Diego State.
Yeah.
Tell me again about money. Tell me again. Like, oh, but Ohio State and Alabama. Yeah. Ohio State and Alabama are there regularly. By the way, let's see what Alabama looks like when Saban's gone. Because I think what we're getting at here is at some point, you better have the right coach.
We've seen it before.
And I think some of those schools do right now have the right coach. But and yes, a lot of those Big Ten schools have a lot of students and a lot of money. And what has it gotten them in the last 40 years?
Not a lot of championships.
We've got a Ohio State completely and bogus championship against Miami. You have a real Ohio State one with Zeke Elliott and Urban. I'm sure that was totally legit with Urban under the old rules for sure. And you got Michigan in 97.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? Like, what are we talking about here? And in basketball, they haven't won it since 00.
Nope.
Men's basketball, they haven't won it since 00.
Money is not the thing.
So what do you want to be? Like, I guess that's where I'm getting at here. Like,
the argument is that you need the money.
Cool,
to put
you're
yourself
on
in that
all day.
position.
By the way, cool, you're on all day.
Hmm.
I'll pass on Iowa and Oregon, though. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Minnesota and Washington. Cool. I'm good.
Housekeeping.
All right. So we are having an OG pizza night. That's all booked. We
Booked
are
up,
having
ready to go.
a golf tournament. That's all booked.
Booked up, ready to go.
So do we have anything else that we can give people? Or we have to get back in the lab?
Well, these two things are fairly important. So let us make sure we can walk before we can run.
Okay.
But there is some other things.
Wow,
cooking.
you're sounding like me now.
Yeah. There are other things we got cooking. I got a knock hockey board just burning a hole in my living room table right now because I love knock hockey.
I have an idea that I want to do ahead of the hockey season, but I need the Canes to sign off on it first. But I'm not going to give it away what we're going to do, but just something to keep in mind.
Speaking of hockey,
but speaking of hockey, speaking of PNC Arena, we're actually going to be doing a show from the Breeze Through in September.
Yeah.
Do you know the details on this yet?
No, I'm waiting for you to tell me.
I will tell you later.
I'll be there.
But we're going to be there. We're going to be doing a show in September from the Breeze Through across from PNC Arena, Carter Finley Stadium. We'll give you more details.
Yeah.
We'll give you a little bit more details about that in the future. In fact, the idea is so crazy, you might need to take out an insurance policy.
We are working on that actually for our business. Yes.
Good thing that we have Matt Davis, State Farm. Give him a call, 919-779-8277. Matt Davis is based out of Garner. I'm a State Farm guy, and he's going to help us insure this business.
We are, yes, because you don't want us to get sued when we have a knock hockey tournament and somebody gets a broken knuckle or something.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that the boilerplate releases that you're Googling aren't enough, Joe?
Yeah, I'm saying Matt knows what he's talking about when it comes to insurance for all.
Fair enough.
Your business, your home, auto, you name it, your pet, all these things. Go to insuregarner.com, insuregarner.com. Check out what all of the different services that Matt has to offer. You will not be disappointed.
Also, shout out to Homefield. Check them out online at homefieldapparel.com. Again, that is homefieldapparel.com. Joe says he was over at the Homefield website. Were you there this morning? Checking out some stuff?
No, on Friday, I ordered a Carolina shirt. I really like all of the different Carolina shirts that they have.
They had some really cool throwbacks.
Yeah, like the Here Comes Carolina,
Yep.
Hark the Sound. I like both of those. So I got a Carolina shirt, I got an ECU shirt, and I got a State Pack Power shirt.
Nice.
For us for pizza night or for the golf tournament. Either one, we'll have gifts that we give away, so prizes. Stuff like that.
Very cool.
Yeah,
a
lot of different really good designs. And intern Cal got paid this month with his Virginia hoodie.
Nice.
So
That you really had to hold your nose for that, didn't you?
I
Spending money on Virginia gear.
I did.
You must love intern Cal. We're taking care of our people. Also, it's one of these things that when you use the promo code OG23, you'll get 15% off your order. Again, that's 15% off your order. I put this one up there because it's important. Don't tweet at Krutz.
Oh, you like that one?
Don't tweet at Krutz. Wear this shirt. Wear it around your friends who hop online and get mad because one guy decided to go to one school over your school. And we saw a couple of those things this weekend. One was involving Florida State. Another was involving NC State. Don't tweet at Krutz. I don't think in the history of Cruton and Twitter that some fan has tweeted at a recruit and gone, I just never saw it your way. And then
you're right. I should go to the school that you like.
I should go to this school. Or they realize, you know what? I am upset that Boba Fett 86 State fan is upset. I don't want to disappoint him. So I'm going to flip my commitment. So yes, by all means, don't tweet at Krutz and use that promo code OG23 to save 15% off your first order. So I want to address something that I've been getting some emails about and some social media about, and I have no problems bringing these things up when I'm wrong. A few weeks ago, we had a topic of conversation where I said that major conference realignment is dead. It's there on our YouTube page.
Oh,
right. It's right there. It's one of the things that I broke out. And at that time, when we had that discussion, I believed what I said. I wasn't just saying that to say it. I was kind of looking at where the market was, seeing how television is playing out. And I thought to myself, there's really going to be no major conference realignment because everybody's settled for the time being. And more importantly, money is starting to dry up at a variety of places, including the tech companies who are sick and tired of incinerating cash for nobody to watch Apple TV shows, or Disney Plus, which has just lit money on fire, only to start taking stuff off their service because they don't want to pay the royalties, the residuals, everything else. I mean, the whole reason why you got a writer's strike and an actor's strike, Joe, is because these companies are really trying to overcorrect for all their spending. So I got it wrong. Colorado set things up for where we are today. But I was wrong. But while I was wrong about major conference realignment being dead, I was right about the reasons. And in a weird sort of ironic way, the reasons I felt that conference realignment wasn't going to happen because of television money ended up being the reason why we found ourselves in this position. The Pac-12 died not because the Big Ten was being a raider, all right? The Pac-12 died not because the Big 12 decided they were going to be a little bit aggressive. The Pac-12's death is related to being on the wrong end of two trends at the worst possible time. You'll remember that Larry Scott was the commissioner of the Pac-12, and he was this crazy guy. Wes Durham always called him the madman of college football because he was going to disrupt everything. The ACC was getting banged on the head because they were committed to ESPN and Disney. The whole argument around the ACC network was, well, let's do it with people who know how to get cable channels out there. Let's do it with people who have leverage, negotiating power to get the ACC network on as many systems as possible. And, you know, what they ended up giving up was this grant of rights that goes to 2036. And in a weird, ironic way, while they're not getting the most amount of money, that grant of rights is the only thing keeping this freaking thing together for the next 5 years or so, right? The Pac-12 went the opposite way. They were looking at all the money that the Big Ten was making off their own network. They were seeing where things were going with the SEC. And Larry Scott, in his infinite wisdom, decided, I'm going to bet on ourselves, and we're going to do our own cable channel. Unfortunately, that's when things started their decline. And the Pac-12 had a really, really hard time trying to negotiate their availability on a variety of systems, to the point where in major markets with major Pac-12 teams, you couldn't get the Pac-12 network. So that's where they missed number one. That was the big bet that they missed on. You've never experienced that, right, Joe?
No.
Never experienced a big bet that you just didn't cash. Never. It's never happened for you. So here comes George Kliavkoff, right? The new commissioner. And he also ended up making a big bet that did not land. And that was, well, look at all these tech companies. Look at all the money they have. Look at all the ways they're investing in content. They're trying to get subscribers. That's where we're going to cash in. Turns out that Apple, looking at their bottom line, goes, ooh, I don't know about that. And has, you know, they gave them this weird incentive-laden streaming deal, which Pac-12 teams did not like. And that's where you had the disintegration. But if you want to understand how badly the Pac-12 missed, here is Larry Scott, the former commissioner of the Pac-12, this was in 2018 at a Pac-12 media day. And this video was pulled back up by Trey Wallace on Twitter. Here, listen closely.
Sports, to see the consolidation happening in the industry where ESPN and Disney are going to have more resources to buy sports rights, that Fox is going to have more resources to buy sports rights, that Turner, now that it's owned by AT&T, is going to have more resources.
Pause right there. Turner, owned by AT&T. How's that played out?
To provide sports rights. Couldn't be more delighted with where we are strategically and the fact that, you know, we're the only conference in the country that come 2024 is going to have all our rights back, complete control, and we're going to be able to adapt and react and take advantage of this new world media order that's coming in a way others can't.
Whoops. Again, that was 2018, Larry Scott talking about where things were going to be in 2024. He bet wrong. Here's where we are. And now we have further consolidation in the Pac-12, which gets us to another thing that I was wrong about. And that is FSU's desire to leave the ACC. And this gets us to the report that they're looking at private equity from JP Morgan to try to find a way out, to buy their way out of the ACC. Now, important context here, Florida State is one of the athletic departments in the country that's actually run like independently from the university. They did this a few years ago. So what they're doing is only an extension of that. But again, these are things I don't think about, and where I was wrong is the desire of a school to actually sell itself out to groups like private equity groups that are notorious for really running businesses into the ground. But they've got money, so therefore that's what's motivating this desire to get with, I don't know, at this point, why not just call them FSU PIF? I mean, what's to stop them from getting Saudi investment money to do what they want to do? Because that's where we're headed with this.
Also seemed like there was at least the idea of the endowment being cracked into to pay out the exit.
I thought that was interesting too. I
mean, again, things we learned during the pandemic, the football team, the men's basketball team, they're the ones who kept the lights on at these schools. And that's not an exaggeration, because once people started to realize, no, wait a second, you mean I could just take this class online and graduate and get a job? So as someone who just took out a $20,000 loan to pay for their, first year of college, like, and then I have to pay back 70 grand on a $20,000 loan.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wait a sec, James. How about you just take that class online, sir? How about you knock out a few credits in the summer over at Wake Tech, right? Because but you want your child to have the experience. You want your student to have the experience of going to college, because you learn things. Well, if it's a pandemic and nothing's going on, right? We learn what we can live without. Things I've learned in 25 years in the media, the last 25 years in the media business. Yeah. The second you figure out you can live without that, guess what ain't coming back? Okay. So that's what kind of annoys me about these colleges. Like I said, that they had the wrong enlightenment during the pandemic. Their enlightenment was, let's squeeze more money out of these two sports while we can.
Yeah.
Instead of, how do we make this more equitable? How do we make this more efficient? How do we make this more fair? How do we make this the true experience that people like Jim Phillips and Kevin White and Nina King and Boo Corrigan, how do we make this a true experience that they talk about, and the opportunity? And I don't see that being prioritized. And I understand why it isn't, but I do think there's ways around this. There's ways to improve this. And no one wants to have the hard conversation. They went and just hired a former governor of Massachusetts to run the NCAA, to specifically politic Congress, to specifically get basically an exemption for calling the athletes what they are, which is employees. So instead of thinking forward, they're absolutely hustling backwards. And quite frankly, it's infuriating.
It is infuriating because these are supposed to be the adults in the room. To your point about
it's
what
not
they're
even adults. It's what did Brett Kavanaugh say? Like, that's the part that irks me more than anything else.
Yeah. Here's the thing. When I say the adults ruin everything, it really is indicative of how we get to where we are, right?
Yes.
And that over the history of time, people are not looking at spreading the wealth. People are not looking at saying, hey, this has worked for this. Let's make it work for everybody. I mean, look at the NCAA when it comes to women's college sports rights. They were sitting on something that was incredibly marketable, but because they didn't want the audacity of sharing the hashtag March Madness with the women, they felt like, well, no. This is our pie. We can't spread that out. That's the history of sports, for heaven's sake. So to see it extend this way does not surprise. I can sit here and make fun of Jimbo Fisher because he had a press conference yesterday and Tex Ags ended up kind of aggregating it. And he said, Jimbo Fisher on conference realignment, unfortunately, we're in a time now that everybody is fighting over the dollar, as though this is a unique time in history. This has been going on for decades. And heck, Jimbo Fisher is an example of a guy who's constantly chasing the money, because look at the contract he has with Texas A&M. But I can sit here and make fun of Jimbo Fisher. There are coaches who are at least being outspoken about the fact that all these decisions do not take the athletes into consideration. We brought up the Rick Pitino tweet, right? Rick Pitino talking about, man, why don't we just regionalize everything else? It's all football driven. Because as a basketball coach, he's thinking, and he's living the life now in the Big East that gets it. You ask the question, who would you rather be, Stanford or Washington? I'm in agreement with you that given the way things are going, I'd rather be Stanford. Let's blow it up even bigger. If you're the ACC and you had to do it all over again, would you rather be the Big East now, who you took teams from and sent them on a path to where they are today, which is a like-minded conference of basketball playing schools that has a nice media deal? Everybody gets what everybody else is trying to do, and it creates an environment that you want to be a part of. There's a reason why the Big East tournament is 10 times better in terms of energy than the ACC tournament now. When it used to be flipped, take the Garden out of it. All right. Just strip the Garden out of it. Those are like-minded schools that want to beat each other in that particular
that you were familiar
sports,
with.
that you're familiar
Yes.
with. So if you had to do it over again, if you went back 20 years, what's better peace of mind? Sure, you could be making all the money, but what did the famous philosopher P. Diddy ever tell us? Mo money, mo problems. So here we are in the ACC with all these problems. Florida State can't get enough money. North Carolina, according to Luke DeCock on Friday, like having to have conference calls saying we're not leaving the ACC because Bubba Cunningham has to tell all their employees, guys, we're not leaving. We're just not leaving right now. And that's causing all sorts of other stress. Imagine an ACC that's like the Big East. Who would you rather be? Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
5 years ago, I might have told you I'd still rather be the ACC. But given how things are shaking out, I'd rather be the Big East now.
You're asking the existential question, which is how can you convince yourself to be happy with what you have?
We're trying to do that now, Joe.
Instead of striving
Yes.
for all of the wrong reasons, right? But then you say, well, how do you sustain that? How does one sustain? The Big East it's a little bit easier because they don't have footballs. They don't have football.
But football causes problems.
Right.
So when you strip yourself out of that, you see how happy they are? So that's what I'm getting at.
By the way.
Yes, they have been
Villanova,
successful.
UConn in that tournament.
You say maybe it's not money that's the root of all problems. It's football that's ultimately the root of all problems when it comes to college sports, which gets us to if you really wanted to save college athletics, you're going to have to break football out completely. That's how you have to do it. So here's Eli Drinkwitz, our buddy Eli, who had a press conference as the Missouri head coach, and he was asked about all the things that are going on right now in college athletics. Here's what he had to say.
All right, I'm going to say it. I thought the transfer window, I thought the portal was closed. That's just for the student athletes. The adults in the room get to do whatever they want, apparently. And it's, it's just sad that there's, my question is, did we count the cost? I'm not talking about a financial cost. I'm talking about, did we count the cost for the student athletes involved in this decision? What cost is it to those student athletes? We're talking about a football decision. They based off football, but what about softball and baseball who have to travel cross country? Do we ask about the cost to them? Do we know what the number one indicator of symptom or cause of mental health is? It's lack of rest and sleep. Traveling in those baseball, softball games, those people, they travel commercial. They get done playing at 4. They got to go to the airport. They come back. It's 3 or 4 in the morning. They got to go to class. I mean, did we ask any of them? Are we going to look back? I don't worry at all about the game. The game is going to be strong. Football is going to be fine. We'll all figure it out. But did we consider the people that we are entrusted with? Did we consider the student athlete?
So that's Eli Drinkwitz, Missouri head coach. And it's easy, and I'm guilty of this from time to time, looking at a well-compensated college football coach talking about leaving for better situations and doing it for money. I mean, Eli Drinkwitz is the same guy who went from offensive coordinator at NC State, took a prime opportunity at App State, was there for a year. Basically, the success was built off the previous coaching staff and then parlayed that into a job at Missouri, which, what did Missouri do? Missouri bettered their situation, chasing the cash, joining the SEC. Well, Eli Drinkwitz eventually wanted to be a SEC coach. Well, that's where the two paths collided, and here we are. But I can point that out, but it doesn't take away from what Eli Drinkwitz is getting at. And if the college coaches understand this, I am curious if those in power at these schools end up pushing towards this Super League. But the question is, again, if you're Missouri, do you make that Super League? If you are Washington and Oregon that just joined the Big Ten as a life raft, do you make it? If you're a Big Ten president who just signed off on getting these two teams at a discount rate, let's say I'm the president of Indiana or I'm the president of Illinois, do I believe that I'm going to make that next round to a Super League? So we can sit here and say, yes, this is where things are going. But I really doubt the anti-American sentiment of relegation and promotion is going to trickle its way down to college football. Once they go Super League, you're never getting that money back. Maybe you'll be happier, though. That's the thing. Maybe that's the thing.
I applaud his comments.
Yeah.
And, look, I think they're making a mistake in the sense that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. That's the part where I rue that there's no imagination here. Like, it doesn't have to be this way. Like, and this is where the leadership of Mark Emmert, the lack of leadership from Mark Emmert, and just saying to the presidents, "Oh yeah, let's just get more money. Let's just keep doing this." That's, to me, that's who failed. That is who failed here.
Yes.
People like Randy Woodson, who voted for Mark Emmert on a governor's board for the NCAA. They are the ones who have failed here, because there was a complete and total lack of leadership at the national level. That's on football. That's in men's basketball. That's all of these other sports. Like, did we think of the cost? Did we think of the other athletes? No. Drink, because they don't have an advocate.
No.
So,
and anytime they do have an advocate, they shut it down.
For sure.
No, you can't unionize players. And you just hit it. You just hit it. Every decision that's been made is to chase money. That's what businesses do.
It's not even that. It's to protect them who have the money,
which is what businesses do,
from sharing it with the people who are helping them generate it.
So the schools are trying to get, Congress to intervene so that the players can't get any cut of this.
That was their idea of leadership, by the way.
It's like, no, not that.
We need help
to keep our money.
Right.
So if every action you take is run like a business, again, all you're doing is setting yourself up for failure every time you try to go to court. Every one of your actions. Let's say you get back to another judge and they're deciding, they're like, okay, so you're not a business, yet every single one of your moves has been driven by business. So what are we getting at here? They keep just shooting themselves in the foot when they've had every opportunity to correct.
They're the Washington Generals every time they get to a court.
Whew.
And the judges are the Harlem
It's
Globetrotters.
rough, man. It is absolutely rough. So I'm thinking, with all of these moves that are taking place right now, all this realignment, perhaps coaches, some families, who knows, maybe they need to contact Hometown Realty. Check them out online at myhtr.com. I don't know if they can move an entire conference somewhere or an entire school somewhere.
But if anybody can do it, Barry Woodard is.
They can.
They
we got 50 houses for all of you. Let's go.
They got more than 250 agents. They got 6 locations here in the Raleigh area, down to Atlantic Beach and everywhere in between. Go check them out. It's myhtr.com and tell them heard about it on the OG.
Yes, please do. Again, myhtr.com. Whitaker and Hamer. I don't know if they can break you out of the grant of rights. We tried, though. They've only seen one old grant of rights. There was actually a grant of rights making the rounds online the other day, and people had been sending it to me, and I was quick to point out that might be the old grant of rights, because it's kind of a mystery to get this newer grant of rights. I know Whitaker and Hamer is trying to find it and look at it, but on more serious legal matters, by all means, check them out online, wh.lawyer.
Yeah, you close on your house, sell a business, you got any kind of family law issues, call Josh Whitaker, Joe Hamer. You got to put the graphic back up there for me, Joe. Otherwise, I don't know the number, sir. They have the world's greatest URL.
Yes,
wh.lawyer.
wh.lawyer is the world's greatest URL.
But if you would like, you can call them 919-772-7000.
All right, you're good. I can take that off. All right, we'll go ahead and take that off.
You're full transparency mode. Like, you did radio for a really long time.
Yes.
Right. And the ads were like, you did the ads, obviously. I mean, my gosh. I won't even use their names, but
I've done a lot of ads. Yes.
Yeah. And you're really good at that, actually.
Yeah.
So, but you're not understanding, like, these are the people now who pay us.
Yeah, I know.
Like, there's nobody in accounting. There's nobody in sales. There's so to make them happy, just leave the ad up on.
I did. I was transitioning that. I thought you were done.
No. You're still in like that mechanical mode of like, I did the 30 seconds you told me to do. Sir, just keep them happy. Okay. We are because you got to show a little bit of love. You got to heat the oven a little bit sometimes.
I mean,
Joe.
hey, look, anytime we get some social media, like, I'm retweeting it.
Yes.
I never would have done that before.
I know.
Now
because
let's go. Absolutely. Oh, you had some coffee, lad. Let's go. Oh, you bought this. All right, let's go retweet that. Let's go, man. I'm all about that. Well, speaking of being online, I actually had to log off yesterday. How much Women's World Cup have you been paying attention to?
It's in Australia, New Zealand, so it has not been that high on my radar, to be perfectly honest.
I think for a lot of people, it's been that way because you just don't know when it's on super early in the morning.
Yep.
So I woke up yesterday, do what I typically do. I opened up Twitter, and I see, oh, knockout round of 16, the women are playing Sweden. Cool. I'll keep an eye on it, thinking, because there was a lot of drama. I didn't watch any of the group play. I just understood what was going on with Team USA. And I have a larger point that I get to where the women's team is and why there's progress. And there's, of course, several steps backwards. So they found themselves making it into the knockout stage on a 0-0 tie, a scoreless tie. And some folks were upset about how listless they looked in that game. And people were calling their shot like, look, they don't look like they have it. And the women's team is going through what every international team has gone through. You're dominant, and then you have your transition years where you have a little bit of a passing of the torch. You're trying to balance people who have been doing it for a long time, Megan Rapinoe being one of them, but while at the same time setting yourself up for success in international competition going forward. So this World Cup was a weird transitionary World Cup for the women where Megan Rapinoe was bad yesterday, just straight up bad. And she was sailing shots, penalty kicks were a problem. And you're seeing this is it. Like, that's the retirement. Now you'll see the next group come up. But that's the logical way of looking at it. The problem, Joe, is that with a couple of things, actually. One, it's women. So by and large, when you go online, there's a lot of hatred of women. And the women losing also spoke to how they've been very outspoken about equal pay, essentially being very open about the fact of who they are and living their truths. And this is a set of a section of people that took great glee in them getting knocked out yesterday on a controversial,
including the
VAR.
former president.
Yes. You don't have to engage in this stuff, but it is telling where we are. We're an American team that represents this country. There are people who are enjoying the fact that they lost.
Sure.
Very American.
Look, I mean, here's the truth.
Yeah.
The world. This is fairly amazing if you actually think about it.
Mhm.
Okay. The World Cup, the Women's World Cup's been played 9 times. The U.S. has won it 4 times. They've been in the final 5 times. Okay. The truth of the matter is, speaking of the problems that we have in this country, right? The truth of the matter is, we put an emphasis on women's sports like no country had ever done before.
Yeah.
At least not, let's put it, they weren't being chemically engineered, right?
Right.
The old communist countries, the way that they did it.
Right.
Title IX passed in 1972. That effectively gave us a 20-year head start on the rest of the world. Think about that. In their game, soccer is the world's game. This is not our game. Okay. You know how remarkable it is for us to be ahead of anyone in soccer? And a large part of that is Title IX and the emphasis that we put on women's sports. Women's soccer in particular was one of the first sports. Women's basketball, women's soccer. You look at the straight line from the success that we've had internationally, and this does not require a big Venn diagram. It's just one straight line of success. 4 of 9. That's pretty good. They had won the past 2. That's pretty good. But nothing is owed to you. Okay.
Yeah.
So the rest of the world, who cares about this sport, guess what? They've started investing, not unlike men's basketball, which we saw, the Dream Team 92. Then all of a sudden, 20 years later, guess what? We had a 20-year head start, effectively, right?
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, 20 years later, these games are competitive and the U.S. loses. Same thing here with women's soccer. The rest of the world is catching up and nothing is owed to you. And in that tournament, you need to be on your game. You're going to laugh because of my gambling theories. But remember when Carolina, the men, were number 1 this year, and they didn't blow out the first team that they played, and I told you, this is a problem.
Red flags.
I go, this is a problem, and you're like, it'll be okay. Not you and not you particularly, but there were people out there like, oh, it's no big deal.
Fine.
They won by 19. I'm like, yeah, but they were favored by 28, and they were never in a hammer position.
Same thing happened with the women.
The women's soccer, the first game they're playing in Vietnam, they were favored by 6.5 goals. They won 3-0. And from that point, I said,
you're like,
they're not going to win this tournament. Yeah. Because what the people who know are telling you is they should absolutely hammercock that
and they
team.
Weren't. And that was Carly Lloyd's issue.
Yeah.
That was Carly Lloyd. And like people were ripping her like, oh, you're sour grapes. Her issue was they're celebrating.
Right.
They're celebrating the fact that they got in, which is whatever. That doesn't bother me. But the message was clear. And to your point about the gambling, the message was clear on this too. But it's fine because every international team that we've ever had since the professionalization of these things goes through these transition points.
Yes.
And there's some deeper issues that are going on with soccer, which affect the men too, by the way, and that there's this fractured nature of youth soccer and development is really out of whack compared to other countries.
Yes.
You bring up the other countries are all in for one thing. The problem here, if this is the theme of the show today, money, soccer and money end up.
The cost to play soccer, youth soccer in this country is
and look at the men's side of things with the political jockeying of factions of players. I mean, for heaven's sake, it was such like youth soccer level for who was the guy who had the parents that were you trying to blackmail the coach? I forgot the guy's name off the top of my head.
Not Aunt Becky.
No, it was was it Reyna? No, it wasn't Reyna.
Oh yeah, Claudio Reyna.
Was it Claudio Reyna?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Gio Reyna.
And Gio didn't play enough in the World Cup, and like Claudio and his wife, and like there was blackmail and all this other stuff going on. I was like, what are we doing here? So that's a youth soccer issue that's come out. But all this is to say is the women losing in the World Cup it happens. Did they go out earlier than they should have? Probably, given their talent level. But it's a transitionary year. We've seen this in the men's side for basketball.
So it's on the women's side too. They went from 99 to 11 without. They went 3 World Cups without winning it.
They did.
Or they got to the final in 11. But
so again, I think the issue is mainly where they got knocked out. But there's a similarity between what happened with basketball and the men's team and what's happened with the women. And they're largely made up of 2 groups that white dudes love to bang on when they end up being quote unquote outspoken on both sides. And all sorts of other issues come out. And if you don't believe me, just look at the reaction online at the U.S. women's team losing. Rather than it being about certain breakdowns in development, team being structured, that exists. But the people who claim that they don't give a damn about women's sports, the people who give it, say XYZ about, I don't care about these things, they took great glee in that. And all this is to say is you don't have to engage with it. It's okay. Karlsson finally got traded, Joe, and it's not to the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm okay with this. Ends up going to the Pittsburgh Penguins in a deal. This was announced yesterday morning. Penguins acquired Erik Karlsson, forward Rem Pitlick, and forward Dylan Hemliuk, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, and a 2026 third-round draft pick in a 3-team trade involving the San Jose Sharks and the Montreal Canadiens. So, essentially, the San Jose Sharks continue their rebuild by dealing guys, and the Pittsburgh Penguins end up getting the guy that a lot of Hurricanes fans have been obsessing over this offseason in Erik Karlsson, who's a defenseman that has offensive abilities the Canes have been desperate to get.
Yeah, I don't think it's a shock here to say that Tom Dundon probably had no problem paying Erik Karlsson the $11.5 million this year.
Yeah.
Maybe even next year. But he's definitely not interested in paying him $12 million when the guy's 37 years old.
Nope.
And I think that's what this comes down to.
Yeah.
Because this wasn't a great deal for San Jose.
No.
Neither was their Timo Meier deal that they made during the season.
Mm-hmm.
Those were 2 major chips that they dealt. And you're looking at it, and their GM was talking about cap flexibility.
It's a wrap when that
and
becomes
I'm like,
a thing. Yeah.
Oh, well, we got this great asset because the pick they got a first round pick effectively from Pittsburgh, but it's top 10 protected. So it's like, what did you really get? You got out of his contract. And they're also paying 13%, which some people had said they could have afforded to pay more of Karlsson's contract than they would have gotten more in return. But actually the contracts that they get back from Montreal and Pittsburgh in this deal for this year at least is more than what they would have had to pay Karlsson. So it's a curious move by San Jose. This is not like your traditional tear it down and build it back up with these great assets. Like, I don't love the deal for San Jose. I do love the deal for Pittsburgh though, particularly because when you have Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and you're going, oh, we've won this thing 3 times, 4 times with Sid.
Yeah.
You're like, we have a chance to win another.
And you're going to double down on a superstar. You're going to do what you can.
And defense be damned, right?
So about the defense. So there's a couple things that are playing here with the Carolina Hurricanes. And I do think it's a residual from the trade deadline last season. And the Canes were viewed as a team to have this window. They had contracts that in the future are going to come due. We're looking at Brett Pesce, for instance, or Brady Shea. And the Canes were adamant about, no, we like this group. We don't want a rental. We're not going to sell out the future just to win now. And then that extended itself after the exit and how they talked at the beginning of the offseason. I mean, we talked to Tom Dundon early in this process, and he was very much about, let's run it back.
Yep.
And so far, they've been kind of on pace to what they've told you they're going to do. They said they were going to get the Sebastian Aho deal done. They did it. Good. I think ultimately it looks pretty good for the Canes. Same with Jordan Staal, right? They weren't going to let Jordan Staal finish his career somewhere else. They managed to do this in a way that helps because of the under 35 contract stipulation. So they'll end up not being on the hook for a lot of this money in the future when Jordan Staal eventually decides to call it a career. So this is what the Canes look like they're doing, and I don't necessarily hate it. They truly believe that they made the moves they needed to make in the offseason last year, and then injuries happened, and they still made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. All things considered, right? So they are counting on Andrei Svechnikov to finally be healthy. They're counting on Sebastian Aho's development into a leader to continue to pay off. They still feel that Jordan Stahl's got something in the tank. And defensively, Erik Karlsson, I'm not sure. I mean, if you're giving up Brady Shea, or if you're giving up Brett Pesce, I'm talking about his dad, what do you think actually helps the Canes more this year? A defense that's already strong enough in what they have, or bringing on Erik Karlsson, who has a lot of contractual baggage? It's entirely possible that they are just going to let it run its course with Pesce and let it get to the end of the term of the contract. Or maybe they'll reassess at the trade deadline. Because here's my question, where they've been adamant about not doing rentals. If you know that it burned you in the past and you've got Pesce and you know you're not going to be able to afford him in the future, is he the bargaining chip at the trade deadline to bring on somebody that you ultimately need? I think the Canes are in a really interesting position, and I'm glad they've handled it the way they've handled it, rather than trying to, quote unquote, win an offseason, which I think Carolina Hurricanes fans are ultimately, not all Hurricanes fans, I want to be adamant about this. There's a vocal group of people on social media that had it in their head they were going to get these guys, from Tarasenko to Karlsson. We're going to bring all these guys. We're going to get the super team. We're making the moves. And they haven't. And the only real big deal they did was the Orlov deal. And of course,
I think Bunning was a good deal too.
That was a good deal too. But my point is, I like what the Canes have done, and it does give them the flexibility in the season that if they ultimately do want to make a move, it'll happen.
And don't forget Teravainen.
Yes.
So you got Teravainen, Shea, and Pesce are guys in their last year of their deals before they're unrestricted free agents. They also have the time to trade them would be now. To your query about will they make a move at the deadline, we've seen them be hesitant to make moves at the deadline. But the thing we know about the Canes is they're going to identify someone's value, and obviously, Pesce and Shea, their value is about to go way up from what they're making right now.
Yes,
so that's understood, and I think the new agent for Pesce understands that as well. But I have confidence in the Canes that they will find players to replace them. If those three players are not on the team for the next season, that's fine. And if they feel like they're in the best position this year with those three guys to make a run, I think they've earned the right and the benefit of the doubt that those are going to be the best decisions for the team.
Breeze Through sponsors OVIES and Giglio. Go get the lifetime refill tumblers. We're actually going to give away a tumbler in a little bit with the first edition of the new Mixtape. I'm very excited about this.
I mean, we're giving someone a chance.
I think it's going to work. I think we're giving one away today. I think so. I'm optimistic.
Listen, man, we don't need any kind of regulations from the government here about game fixing.
Fair enough. I'm not saying it's fixed.
This is a contest where someone will have a chance.
This is what's funny. This is you. Let's start the show with you reminding me of, like, hey man, stop being so mechanical, to a flip in contests. It used to be.
Oh yeah, that wasn't my money.
It used to be.
we paid for these, sir.
Let's just give them all away. Yeah. No big deal. Oh, you want that? Here's a tumbler. You get a tumbler. You get a tumbler. You want a coffee mug? Let's give you a coffee mug. Now, all of a sudden, you're like, whoa, hey, we are just not giving these away all willy-nilly. Look at the change in you. Look at the change in you. I love it. In all seriousness, get to Breeze Through. Try their coffee. We had a couple listeners send us some images of them getting coffee at Breeze Through. That's really, really cool to see. Keep that coming. And here's the deal. What's the week before the Notre Dame NC State game? It's like September something like 7th, I think it is. Okay. It's the week after Labor Day. We'll give you more details as we get them. But my understanding is you and I will be recording a show inside the beer cave.
Ooh.
It's going to be your jam. It's going to be so cold in there.
Yeah.
You will be happy.
Yeah.
You will be so happy in there.
Love it.
So more details to come. But ultimately, we are going to be doing a show in the beer cave. I'm hype about this. Very, very hype about this. Speaking of people sending us photos, a lot of people sending us photos about the butcher's market. The steak and cheese phenomenon continues to dominate the summer. You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it,
Yep.
Joe.
People tweet us like, it just cracks me up every time. Like, no, they're not lying. It's really.
Well, why
really
would we lie to
But
you?
I love the other guy who was like, yeah, I go there often, and I've never ordered a sandwich before. And then I did. And I'm like, what have I been doing all of these years? What have I been doing to myself? Thebutchersmarkets.com. Check them out online or go see them in person. Go to the mothership. Go to Cary, Saltbox there. Go to Holly Springs. You name it. They've got it. Trust us now, and we tell you they have unbelievable selection for all your grilling needs.
It's time, Joe. It's time for the mixtape. We've got one of our listeners, Jason. Is this a first time, long time for you, Jason?
I did it once before and I lost. I think I lost on the first song. So this is redemption.
It's a mixtape redemption, but mixtape's a little bit different now. We don't have the rights to play music, so we don't have the kind of money to get the music rights to put on YouTube and everything else. But we do have the ability to call on some friends, read lyrics to popular songs, and then you, based on your ability to identify lyrics, Jason, you could potentially win that OVIES GIGLIO tumbler, thanks to Breeze Through. Lifetime refills with that bad boy, man. Lifetime.
That looks good.
All right. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. Here is your song. This is a summer mixtape theme that we're going to be doing for the next potentially 2 weeks. We're just going to do this as long as we need to do it. Just keep that in mind. This is your first one. This is Travis Quinn, public address announcer for NC State at Carter Finley Stadium. Let's see if you know the song.
Summertime, and the living's easy. Bradley's on the microphone with Ross MG. All the people in the dance will agree that we are well qualified to represent the LBC. Me, and Louie. We gonna run to the party and dance to the rhythm. It gets harder.
All right, Jason, what you got?
It's got to be Snoop with the LBC, right? No?
Yeah, one more guess.
Warren G. I have no idea.
It's like we can't even play this song.
We can't play the song for you. It would be Sublime's
Oh, God.
In Time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In Time.
Definitely don't know that one.
Oh, man. Lana Del Rey covered it. You don't even know that version?
I think I know that. I think I actually do know that version.
Lana Del Rey covered it a couple years ago, a couple summers ago.
Right. All right.
I am sorry, my man. You do not win the tumbler. This actually makes Giglio somewhat happy because we only got 4 of these bad boys. However, Jason,
I feel like there's a consolation prize in there.
I know I already emailed you a sticker. Would a color changing cup be okay?
That would be very cool. Yeah,
all right. I will send you a color changing cup. I'll go fish out your address through the email database we are amassing. So we appreciate it. Maybe next time, Jason.
Maybe next time. Good luck to the next person.
Perfect, man. Perfect.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, dude. Take it easy. I'll talk to you later.
All right. See ya.
All right. Let's see. Kick from the studio, kick the guest. And then we'll get to Hey Joe here, but we'll talk about this a little bit. Okay. I want to do. You like this one. You like this one.
Collins Ave.
All right, Joe, before we do Hey Joe, be honest. Did you know that song?
I knew it was a Sublime song.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought the name of it was Summertime, though.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
It is Doin' Time.
Yes.
Doin' Time is the name of the song. Speaking of summer, we're in the dog days of summer. It's gross out the last couple of days, prime for mosquitoes. But, You can keep that in check thanks to Mosquito Authority. And given as hot as it is, you got critters coming in. Roaches, rodents, you name it. They're looking for cooler temps, moisture, and Pest Authority can handle that for you as well.
Yeah, Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority. It's both. So all of the bugs, all of those mice, maybe there's a squirrel in the attic. Give them a shout. Hayes Lancaster and his crew, they've got you. Or find them on bugsbite.com.
Also, Oak City Sports Cards. Check them out downtown. Buy, sell, grade, trade. Grading is the most important thing here. Get your cards graded. You might be sitting on something you think has value. There's only one way to find out. Take it to Weston. They'll get that thing graded. You'll have a better idea of what it's worth rather than going from that nebulous eBay world where you don't really know what you're getting.
It's also football season's almost here. Get that Bryce Young rookie, get that CJ Stroud rookie, those rookie quarterbacks, get them now because the value just keeps going up and up and up. And then, of course, once the Victor Wembanyama lottery sweepstakes starts, you know Weston's going to have those cards. So go check them out downtown, right off Glenwood Avenue or oakcitycards.com.
All right, so the mixtape will continue this week. We have to get another contestant. We have another song. We already gave you Doing Time. You know what that one is.
Okay.
So we have some others in
the same vein.
It's a summer mixtape.
Theme. There's a theme.
There's a theme here. It's August. It's summer. Those are the songs we're going with. I mean, right off the bat. I mean, do I need to play it again? I mean, do I have to get back to the beginning?
Summertime. And the living's easy.
Shout out to Travis. He did a hell of a. He actually, I learned what the modulation overload on this mic was thanks to Travis. Clearly, this is not a microphone he should be using for PA purposes at Carter Finley Stadium. So we'll do this again on Wednesday. Can we get Jeremy with a G?
I have messaged him, but I can also go down to where he works and
I think you need to
see
go
if I can flag him down.
See if you can flag him down and get him here on Wednesday so we can do this thing.
Jeremy was one of our first winners in the heart of the pandemic.
Yes.
So yes.
So I want to make sure that he's in here so we can make this thing work.
Yes.
All right, let's answer those Hey Joe questions. Oakwood Pizza Box sponsors Hey Joe. Check them out online at oakwoodpizzabox.com. Give them a call, 919-594-1605. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, okay? You can go there. All right? Lunches, especially. Just getting that out there because, again,
I love that you don't know anything.
I don't know anything either.
It's Wednesday through Sunday.
Wednesday through Sunday.
So lunch would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sorry, Anthony.
Yeah.
Sorry. I only go there for dinner.
OakwoodPizzaBox.com.
I usually go there for dinner unless you tell me Oakwood Pizza Box. You have to usually give me the bat signal that you're there in the afternoon. So, which you haven't done in a while.
Well, we've been traveling. Anthony's been traveling. Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Summer's crazy, man. Summer is crazy. All right, let's answer some Hey Joe questions from another Joe Wagstaff. All Joes go to the front of the line on Hey Joe. Getting ahead of the curve here after an interesting convo this past week's sales meeting. Should ECU have ever fired Ruffin McNeil?
I mean, it was a mistake. I kind of sort of maybe understood.
Recruiting fell off. That was always the argument, is that recruiting fell off.
I don't know. I kind of sort of maybe understood if you had a better plan to replace him than they did.
Ding, ding, ding.
I do like Mike Houston. I do think he has a real chance. I think he's a really good coach. ECU's got an interesting schedule this year. So it should be an interesting time without Holt Nailers. I feel like they have all of those other pieces in place, just not a quarterback. But yeah, getting rid of a guy who, I mean, we saw this with Bunning and Amato here. Like, I went to State. I went to Carolina. I love the school. I played here. This is my school. I don't ever want to leave here. And for all of the different reasons, it didn't work out to varying degrees for all three of them. But obviously the way that Ruffin McNeil is respected.
Oh, incredibly respected.
Not only in this state, but like across the country and in the coaching community. Yeah, it was a mistake, obviously.
All right, to Mr. Marshall. Hey, Joe, where should Panthers fans be on the mood meter right now? We do have joint practices with the Jets. We have a preseason game on deck. I know Frank Reich has openly talked about, whether the rep's going to be, but that's neither here nor there. Let's answer the question. There is... on the unpleasant to pleasant, low energy to energy scale, you have mom would be sad. They're not there.
No.
It's so over? No. Nothing but optimism. Is what it is? Yeah, if Ron Rivera were still the head coach, because that's what he would say all the time. Now, the highest peak energy and most pleasant, it's let's effing go. They're not there, though. They're not at let's. I don't think they're at the let's go.
You don't?
I don't think they're there yet.
Oh, I am.
We are so effing back. I don't know about that. I actually think that the Panthers fans are at the F it, we ball.
Okay.
I think that's where they're at. Super high energy, but potentially unpleasant because of all the optimism. Like, let's just do it. It's ball. But they might not win the division, and that might upset some people. I think that's where we're at.
I'm all in on the Panthers this year.
So you're on the let's effing go scale?
Yeah, I think this is them.
All right, man. You could be right. All right, let's get to the next Hey Joe question. This is from Evan on Twitter. Hey Joe, what's the best thing you saw at the concert last night? He's referencing the Sublime Slightly Stupid show. Snoop Dogg was last night. I had a chance to go see Snoop Dogg at Coastal Credit Union last night, but had to bail on that. I was too tired, man, because I was volunteering for the Enloe Marching Band on Saturday.
Yeah.
For the Slightly Stupid Sublime show at Coastal Credit Union Music Park. I was slinging beer, Joe.
I love it.
I got a sick enjoyment out of it, man. I'm not going to lie. I mean, mind you, had to get out there about 2:00 in the afternoon. Show started at 5. Last pour was at 9:15.
Okay.
And I don't know, maybe it's because I'm an extrovert at times. So I got that out of my system. I'm not extroverted like you, but I am extroverted, Joe. I mean, how else do I do this for a living? Just saying. I'm just saying.
Breaking news. Where's the sounder?
Right.
Hit a button over there, will you?
I'll have to yeah, do that one. So,
can I be in charge of the buttons?
I gamified. No. I gamified it. I had 170 transactions that I went through at the kiosk with beer.
Okay.
Because we were one of the easier spots to get a pretzel, we had a lot of people coming up getting pretzels. But here's what I discovered. Here's what actually I discovered serving beer and checking IDs. I'm a terrible judge of age. Not in these.
Is there a scan?
No.
You have to
physically look at IDs. Okay. So physically looking at IDs.
You were trained for this, though, I'm guessing.
Yes,
they gave you like a little 10-minute tutorial.
I had to do the safe serve training and all that kind of stuff, and finding out, basics of, what to look for, hear the laws, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, you have to check every ID. That's just the policy. And even like I was on the other end, because you know how many times I've gone to Walnut Creek or another venue and they're like, can I see ID? And I'm just laughing because I'm like losing my hair. I have gray in my beard. I got 2 kids with me, but they still have to check the ID, right? So I had to use that a couple of times. But as people were coming up, I could tell, oh yeah, this person's clearly of age, but how old are they? And what I discovered is that one of 2 things could be true, or both. Either I'm a terrible judge of age, or I'm mentally, I do not think I'm as old as I potentially look, if that makes sense. Like, I view myself, and while I understand I am older, I don't look old in my brain. So I had some people coming up to me thinking, man, this guy's old. He's fine. He's probably like 50. He's in his 50s. I'm 44. He's in his 50s. Check ID, 1979. I'm like, oh, okay. You're my age.
It's very sobering.
Do I?
It's kind of like
do I look this old?
Me like when I go to Radio Row and I'm like, these are my peers.
Yes, these are your peers now, Joe. Oof. These are your peers now. So that's what I learned. But I'm not gonna lie, man. I got a sick enjoyment out of it, and frankly, summertime things slow down. Maybe next summer, if I can just go to a brewery and be in charge of pouring beers, I'd be
like
happy.
That.
Oh, what the highest compliment was as I was pouring Red Oak. It's like, oh, hell of a pour, man. It's like, damn right, that was a hell of a pour. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, tap too.
Oh yeah.
Sounds kind of complicated. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I mean, it was really simple. The beer pairings were very simple: Miller Lite, Michelob Ultra, Truly, or draft beer. So, and it was Red Oak. So you either had the Helles Lager or the Red Oak. What I loved is that the other 2 dads, not necessarily, they don't have a beer podcast, so that gives me a little unfair advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So people were coming up like, well, where are the IPAs? Right?
Concert?
Had a concert at a 90 some odd degree concert. I'm looking for an IPA. No,
you're not.
No, you're not. Trust me. You want a Miller Lite at this point. Hell, a Helles Lager from Red Oak will get the job done. I need an IPA. So I was like, well, if you want an IPA, I know you can get some Hazy Boys down this way.
Yeah.
And there's a wicked weed spot over here. And they happily went over to the wicked weed spot. The other thing that I noticed, I had a lot of dudes who are still self-conscious about ordering hard seltzers. And I'm like,
Okay.
why, man? It's 2023. I ain't judging. So you want it truly for yourself. Good for you. Because as one guy pointed out to me, yeah, man, in this heat, this is the one thing that won't go bad in the heat. Like I can still drink this when it gets warm. This other beer, like an IPA, not so much. One quick note on the way back, Kelly and I hit Cookout on New Bern Avenue.
Okay.
On the way back from Walnut Creek because I didn't eat dinner. I was like, it was too hot. I was stressed out. Didn't eat dinner, but I finally got hungry. So we hit Cookout on the way home. As I was driving down New Bern, I had this realization. The Cookout concept, the chicken concept is getting close to opening up. So they took, I forgot what was there before. So they're opening up something called Ruse Chicken. It's Cookout.
Okay.
The company that owns Cookout is opening up the spot.
Oh, I didn't know about this.
So it's called Ruse Chicken right off of New Bern. Now, it's not Taco Ruse, which was there for a brief moment in Wilmington, which then converted over a Cookout, but this is some sort of chicken concept. And it dawned on me, we potentially have a chicken mile. So let's think about this. I'll pull it up on the map.
Okay.
If you start at New Bern Avenue at 440, there's a Popeyes there. Okay. Look at the map, Joe.
Okay.
So we start at Popeyes Chicken off New Bern, just outside 440. Drive down New Bern past the hospital. You get to the Church's Chicken on the right.
Yes.
Continue on. You'll hit the Taco-Roo eventually. Then you get Cookout. Then you go to Bojangles because the Bojangles is right down the way.
Wait, what would I need the Cookout for?
Because they have chicken at Cookout.
Oh, okay.
They got chicken
But
tender.
aren't we going to their chicken specific
No,
place?
but I want chicken from the Cookout too.
You want to do this all in?
Yes, I do. Do I need to add? And let's add destination. Let's add Beasley's chicken. You just continue down. You continue down New Bern. Oh wait, what did I do? I don't need to do that. What am I doing? This is like ridiculous. So yeah, you continue down New Bern.
Where are we ending?
We are ending. So let's say we start at Popeyes.
Mm-hmm.
We then go to Church's. We then go to Ruse. We then go to Cookout. And then we go to Bojangles. And then we end at Beasley's in downtown Raleigh. How much chicken do you think you could have?
It's too many.
I can do it. I think we should get Drew and Brooke over at the NNO to join us.
Are we getting like one piece of fried chicken at each place, or are we going to try to do
of some sort?
You know how I feel about tenders.
That's right. You don't do tenders.
So
So we get a piece of chicken at every joint. I'm going to order a combo meal at every spot. So I'll just do tenders the entire way. So I'll get like a tender meal, like the smallest tender meal at Popeyes, the smallest tender meal at Tech. I thought we could expense it.
we can, but did you get a raise that you're like, I'll just get a combo meal?
I thought we could expense it.
You don't need all those French fries, sir. Focus.
But then we could do more bits out of that as to which one of these French fries ended up heating up better.
That's fair.
It's a bit that I did before, but maybe we repurpose it. Just saying.
We can work on it.
All right, we're going to workshop that. The chicken mile.
What you really need is someone who can actually eat all these things other than you. I can't eat that much chicken.
You want to split it with Brooke?
No, like I'm saying, there are people who are like, can do this.
Okay.
Find a youth. Like a youth can really
My son.
put this stuff away.
All right, Daniel on Twitter. Hey, Joe, what press row box do you enjoy being in the most in the area? Also, have you ever been on the catwalk at PNC? Used to always be jealous of the people who got to drop the Harris Theater gift card parachutes. Yeah, that is a fun. I've actually never been on the catwalk up there. What is your favorite place to go to now?
Well, I mean, is he trolling me here?
He's trolling you. He's clearly trolling you. Answer the question.
My favorite press box in the area?
Yes.
I mean, you can't hear anything at state football, so I don't like that.
I hate that.
Carolina,
They have a similar issue.
but I do like going out on that ledge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that for Kenan Stadium, because when you go out on that ledge, the coach's box is behind you. And I remember one State Carolina game where I heard Tenuta screaming the whole game, and he knew all the plays, and that was definitely not FCC friendly. So that is actually one of them that I do. And of course, there's the pine trees there too. So You know I like that.
All right, fair enough. From your Canadian girlfriend, the Bills merchandise has returned to Wegmans. It's officially football season, Joe.
Yeah, man.
Are you back on the Bills or no? Not back on the Bills. Not back on the Bills. Something we'll have to explore a little bit more in detail. As
I would love it for Buffalo fans.
All right.
I would.
All right.
But
all right. That's going to wrap it up for today's edition. Thanks to everybody who's downloaded, subscribed, given us 5 stars, etc. We appreciate that. We will see y'all on Wednesday.